top 5 car tech trends that we love and that we hate. And in between those two, if you guys have any questions for us, ask. So what are you up to that they might want to ask about?
In 48 hours, I'm on a plane heading towards Pebble Beach. I'm going to be at the Concorso Italiano, possibly at the Lemons Concorso, and I'm going to be hanging around causing trouble throughout the Pebble Beach Car Week. And I'll be there for the whole week. And then right after that, I hop on a plane and I go with Roman to, I'm so excited about the Jeep thing. It's the Trackhawk. We're going to be going to the Trackhawk in 2 weeks. No, 1 week.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah,
2
well,
weeks.
Yeah. I can't wait because that's probably one of the vehicles I've been dying to drive.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right? 707 horsepower, all-wheel drive. What is not there to love?
Yeah, but we have to fly to the other side of the country.
It's in Maine, yeah.
It's in Maine.
Well, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
No idea.
All right, so let's start with the top 5 things, top car tech tips.
You okay there?
Oh,
He never drinks coffee.
Yeah, I got to start drinking coffee that we love, and then we'll get to the ones that we hate. And number 5, well, why don't you count it down?
Number 5 on the love,
yes.
Right? We're starting there.
Yep.
Surround view or bird's eye view cameras.
Yeah, the more cameras on a car or truck, the better. I love the fact that when you're, for instance, pulling in this new Nissan Rogue Sport into our garage, we can see where the garage door is so that you don't ram into it. It's really cool. And it gets even better when you put the cameras around a truck and you can actually see the fact that you're got a 30-foot trailer behind you and where it's in relationship to the road, to other traffic. It's great.
It is. And Nissan was one of the first companies to really pioneer this technology. They used it in Infiniti, and now a lot of other automakers are using it, and for good reason. It is an excellent system, and frankly, as the software matures and as they build better systems, it gets better and better, and it's now to a point where it looks like you're playing a video game when you look at the screen. It's really sharp.
Yeah, we had that 2016 Hellcat, and we recently had the 2017, and the improvement in the quality of the backup camera, like the 2016 looks like it's some 1980s video game, right? It's all pixelated. And,
right.
And the 2017 is as sharp as the newest generation of phones. It's really good. All right, number 4.
Speaking of phones, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
Yeah, love them.
Yeah, really good stuff. It's not a deal killer that a vehicle doesn't have it, but nowadays so many do have this setup. And basically what it does is it takes your cell phone information and puts it right there on the screen. And you're able to use your own system.
It mirrors what's on your cell phone on the screen of the automobile so that it basically works the same way as your cell phone. So if you've got text coming in, if you've got a playlist for music, if you've got a calendar or contacts, it's all there. It's just a really great system. Love it. And I love the fact that it automatically syncs, right? So you don't have to do anything. It makes life so much easier. And let's face it, we're all used to using our phones. And especially for us, we drive so many different cars that learning all those different, Apple is such an easier tool for me because, like I say, I have an Apple I use every day.
Yeah, me too. It's the same thing. So, it's a great system. It's something we love seeing in cars, and hopefully other automakers will start using it. I've been noticing a lot of people who write in comments on vehicles that don't have it, that it's a deal killer. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do agree that it would be better if they did have it.
It is becoming a buying decision.
It is, actually.
All right, what's the next one, dude?
The next one is configurable dash cockpit. And I think Audi is a really good example of that, right?
Yeah, Audi does this really cool, I think they're one of the only ones to do Google Earth, so you can actually see in real time what the neighborhood looks like that you're actually driving through.
Right.
And then, of course, a lot of other manufacturers are doing the configurable part where you can take basically the speedometer, the tachometer, the navigation system and configure it however you want in an LCD screen that is now your dashboard.
Right.
It's so intuitive in a lot of ways. It's cool, and it lets you configure the car to the kind of configuration that you want.
I remember when Jaguar first came out with that. They were one of the first companies.
And Land Rover too, yeah.
And Land Rover. And it was a little questionable because British tech, and we don't know how long it's going to last.
True.
We didn't want the screens to completely go dark. But so far, so good. And it's getting better every year. And now you're able to get to a point on some vehicles where you can switch around where your TAC is, MPG, anything on there, you can really move it around. And it's going to get better. There's going to be more of that in the future.
Yeah, and there are a lot of companies that do it kind of half, right? So
right.
where you have the traditional analog TAC and speedometer, and then in the middle you can configure whatever you want. But I think you're right, it's going to the point where it's going to be all configurable. I'm going to miss those kind of old speedometers because the numbers are cool. There's a lot of design that goes into those, so I'm going to miss those, but you can do that digitally as well.
All right, let's get to number 2. And Rome, why don't you take us to number 2?
Yeah, this is a whole list of things. It's basically performance tech. So these are displayable, technologically cool bits of information that either let you see things that the car is doing, like a G meter, for instance.
I love that.
Or lets you show you, how much air is going into the engine, how much boost the turbo is putting out, all kinds of cool things like that. Or in some cases, it's even cooler than that. So like line lock in the Mustang and in the Challenger, where you can actually lock the front wheels and do a burnout. Trans brake on the Demon. It sounds like it's mechanical, but it's really technology. It's done through software. Drift mode in the Ford Focus RS. I mean, this is just really cool tech that is changing the way the cars drive. It's making video games real in real cars. It's so cool.
That's actually a really good way to put it. I mean, you really do have like all the stuff you can get out of a video game, now you can get it in a car, and it's reality. So it's awesome that you can actually take your car, tailor, make it the way you want it, and at the same time, get all the readouts. I love being able to see how fast I went around a track, how fast my 0 to 60 was, and of course, G meter. And all of that stuff is available on many cars now.
Andre's over there looking at the questions, and we'll get to those very quickly because we are going to be doing Ask TFL Anything in just 2 more numbers. So number 1, what is it?
Over-the-air updates. Now, there are only a few vehicles that are currently doing this, and they're still working out the kinks, but there'll come a time when you fire up your vehicle, and then you'll see a little thing that says you have new data, or whatever it may say.
Or it'll say you can't start.
Or it'll say you can't start because it's still booting up and everything else. We don't know for sure how that's going to work, but we do know that the Chevy Bolt is working on that system right now.
They're the first major manufacturer. Tesla has been doing it for a long time, so they pioneered it. And basically what it does is it gives you added features for no additional cost, just like a phone would. So for instance, you can have, a good example of that would be ludicrous mode.
Ludicrous mode. Or perhaps something to do with security, a security system upgrade. Because, I'm sure you guys have read autopilot stuff, that too, and autonomous driving. So there's a lot of things that you could update over the air that you really don't need to worry about, but the car can worry about it because there's smarter cars every day, right? Of course, and then you see the other side of it is it could be pretty horrible. But
and this is the important thing here, right? I think it's not catching on as fast as I think it should because manufacturers want you to buy the next car or truck. So for instance, in our old Raptor, we have Sync, which is just, and the new version is much better.
Yeah.
And it would be great if one day I woke up and I had Sync 2, but they won't allow you to do that because they want you to go and buy the new Raptor or the new F-150 and to do that. That is like the old mindset, old business model.
Right.
I think it's actually counterproductive because think about it this way, with an iPhone, or a Google Android device, if it updates itself, it keeps you using that generation of phone. So instead of going out and buying, let's say, a Google, if you're Google Android, if you're using an iPhone, you become comfortable with the operating system for the Apple and it keeps updating itself, and so you stay there. And the same thing could work, I think, for auto manufacturers, right? If you had learned, like, let's say, a Chevy system and you wanted to stay within the brand and it updated itself, you wouldn't want to go and change to a Ford. But it goes counterintuitively against the old business model. Give them something new so they have a reason to go buy a new car or truck.
There's another way to think about this as well. There are a lot of recalls out there that have gone on for software issues. So what if those software issues could be addressed by doing something over the air?
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
Hacking your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right.
That's something that, in the very near future, we're going to hear a lot more about this.
Yeah, and let's go to our bonus. We always like to give you a bonus before we go to the things we hate, and that bonus is the Jaguar activity key. And for those of you who haven't seen the videos that we've produced on this, basically Jaguar has created it's a band. It looks like a watch, and what you can do is you can take your Jaguar keys, throw them in the car, unless you want to go surfing, right? It's waterproof. Lock the car, go surfing, and then when you come back to the car, you take that activity key, the band, and touch it to the J in Jaguar on the back of the car, and it opens up the car. It's Ford has been doing it with the numbers, of course, for years, but this is cool, right? And
this is tech that's going to spread.
Yeah.
But there's a negative side to that, and I find this to be something that can happen. Let's say someone really wants that car. They could take your arm off and basically walk up to the thing with your arm and, open the door and throw your arm to the side and get the keys and take off.
Wouldn't it be easier to just take it off your arm?
Well, no, it'd be really cool though. It would be real graphic. I'm thinking movie-wise, just to hold the arm and carry it over there. But I mean, other automakers are going to make something like that, and eventually I heard that they're going to start doing like a little microchip card that can go in your wallet. And that way, you literally, as you're walking up to your car, I don't know if you'd have to put your butt up to the J or what. Well, anyway, the point is that.
Do you think like douchey dudes will take that and go to the bar? And
Oh, without a doubt. Well,
with the
there's
Jaguar?
a whole conversation about keys and what keys look cool. Like, for instance, the GTR key looks just like a, regular Sentra key, right? So you can't be cool with that, even though you have a GTR. But if you have a Jaguar van, hey, give me a drink. Hi, babe. How you doing? And just kind of like showing that thing and putting it under everybody's nose. So I think other automakers should come up with that too.
What if you have like a car that's not a Jaguar?
Then you're kind of screwed, aren't you? Yeah, that's the way it goes.
All right, let's go to our Ask TFL Anything segment. Andre, what are people asking TFL?
Well, first there's a comment from James Beeman who says, what about exhaust garnishes on the tailpipes?
Oh yeah, I do too. Here's the thing about that. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, the exhaust pipe looks like this. It's round. Okay. Now sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're smaller, but that's what they actually are from the muffler back. Then automakers go and they take triangles and hexagons and all this other weird stuff, sometimes looking really cool, and they put it out there and say, well, this is what the exhaust actually looks like. Yet when you're behind the car, you can clearly see the little pipe there. And
the smaller the pipe, the more.
Oh, and it just looks so, it basically looks like you're trying to make the car appear more powerful than it actually is.
So I actually have some news on this.
Okay.
The worst example of this is the new Audi SQ5, which, by the way, sounds magnificent, right? It sounds like a V8, which it's not, but it does sound magnificent. But they have the big, like you said, the big hexagon, and then the exhaust pipe doesn't even poke through. It points down. So it's just a completely fake hexagon with nothing. You put your finger in it and you hit plastic. And I asked about that. I said, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you at least poke the exhaust through?
Right.
And the answer I got was it was a manufacturing thing. So in Germany, where they build the SQ5 and Q5, right, they build a lot of different engines. And the problem is that some engines have different sized tailpipes and different routing. So it's much easier just to route all the exhaust down and then just put a fake exhaust on the back of the car, depending on what version of the car you're buying, which is just, I think really a bad idea, guys. If you get in the SQ5, that exhaust has got to be prominent.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of goes.
Not fake prominent.
Yeah, it's not. And unfortunately, Audi's not the only brand that does that. Almost
it's a
every
thing.
brand does that. And
Great question.
You know who doesn't do that? Porsche never does that on a 911. They're always real exhaust on 911s.
Yeah, and you know who else doesn't do it? Any truck.
No, that's not necessarily true. They'll put a little bit of chrome on the tip,
right?
But make it extra wide sometimes. That's a little. That's
well, the diesels have the big, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different
Little
thing.
Venturi things, but yeah, that's a whole different thing. Andre, next question, please.
Yeah, well, people want to know about the Ford F-250. We're going to be testing it again.
Why don't you answer that? Well, you don't have a mic, so let us answer that.
Did you say it, and then we'll say what you're saying, my friend. Yes, we will be.
Yeah, it just came back to us, and Ford was gracious enough to lend it to us for, I believe, 2 weeks, right, Andre? So next week it's going back up the Ike. We're going to definitely test it. It was obviously a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because watch the video. It's on TFL Truck. The truck had a failure. It was either the belt or the fan that broke. We're not sure. We've asked Ford. They haven't gotten back to us, but as soon as we know more, we'll get back to you, and yes, we will retest it.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Andre, before we move on to the top 5 tech trends we hate?
What's going on with Big Green?
Really good question. Mike just used Big Green to move his stuff, I believe, and was kind enough to fill it up with premium because it needs premium. What's going on with Big Green? The next upgrade to Big Green is a fix. We installed the little can that is used to hold the gasoline, to pressurize it, to go into the,
Looking at you,
Andre. We installed it like this, the little bucket, instead of like that, so we're going to fix that. And it rides, well, horribly would be an understatement, right? You see me bouncing down the trail.
It's really, he's like a bobblehead when you're behind him,
It also pulls right to the brake hard.
Yeah, brakes might be something we want to talk about.
Yeah,
in the future.
so next on the list is it got a really basic lift. So we're going to do a decent lift, softer springs, because the only thing we're going to haul in that thing is ass and then brakes. So that's what's happening. We just, we don't have that much money, so we have to kind of wait and do this. All right, one more question, Andre?
Well, there's 2 quick ones,
Okay.
Becky. So why don't you guys review Tesla vehicles?
Good question. Simple answer. They don't give them to us.
Yeah, Tesla does not have a press fleet. I think Elon Musk does not like the media.
Yeah, he gives it to guys who like work at Popular Mechanics or
Maybe even them. Maybe.
Buzz, whatever. But the point is that the reason we were able to review one in the past is because we had a friend that was able to loan us one.
He worked for Tesla, actually.
Yeah, he
was
did.
kind of on the side.
Yeah, but the bottom line is that if they bring them to us or if they bring us to them, of course we'll do it. We want to.
They don't have any cars in the press fleet. Elon likes to go around media. He doesn't like independent reviews of his car.
I think he's a cool guy, and I think he's handsome. So maybe he can give us.
Maybe you can flash your activity key at him.
Yes, I'll get one.
Big hands, right?
Big hands. Yes.
All right. I think on that note, we should go to the top 5 tech trends we hate. Nathan, what is number 5?
Number 5 is touchscreen buttons.
Oh God.
And a caveat: no volume knob. I know this sounds really exactly. When you're driving along, and I know the steering wheel controls are there, but sometimes you look over at your radio or you look at a stereo or you look at your whatever, and you want to go, I want to hear more noise, I want to turn it up. Well, you don't have that. What you have is this: push and lift or streak across or go sideways or whatever. And you know what? That's not so bad if you're holding, at a light. Easy. But when you're driving along, how many of you guys have tried to hit something and you hit the wrong thing? I cannot tell you how many times I've gone over to my wife's music when I've been trying to do my own. It sucks.
So instead of like Metallica or Ozzy, you end up with what?
Tracy Chapman. It's not easy, folks. It's not easy. But the point
But
is,
you've got a fast car.
Oh wow, you saw it here first. The point is that it's so much easier to be able to latch onto a knob and turn it, one way or the other for volume. And then the push buttons themselves, once again, when you're bouncing along, a lot of the stuff that you have to push in order to make function, it's not as easy to reach.
Porsche has stuck with real controls and
Yeah.
buttons, and it looks way cool. It looks like a 747 in any modern Porsche. The other thing I would say is Tommy was just at the Honda Fit program, and he talked to the PR guys, and they were very apologetic. They were like, we get it. You hate the fact that we deleted the volume knob. So
Yeah.
I think it's coming back. Anything like the Q system in Cadillac is miserable. Anything that's basically haptic, and is it haptic? And
where it vibrates when you hit it, so you feel like a button.
It's no good, man. And by the way, guys, we'd love to see your list, right?
Yes, please add to this.
Yeah.
Add to this.
In the comments below. We'd love to see it. Yes, Andre.
There's one suggestion, fake noise engines.
Oh, that's a great one.
You know what? That's a really good one. That's not on our list, and
but
that's
kudos to you.
Yeah, we hate it. It's not that we hate it. I love the sound. I love hearing a good sound. But when I realize that it's actually being generated and it's completely fake, it just takes everything down a notch.
You know what the worst offender of that is?
Ford.
No, there's that worse one. It's the BMW i8 because it's got that little 3-cylinder from the Mini, the turbo.
Yeah.
So when you're outside of the car, it's got this like.
Yeah.
When you're in the car, you think like you're in like the biggest V8 ever manufactured.
Yeah, I remember that too. I remember that. But there are a couple of car companies that do this, and the bottom line is that they want to make your driving experience more enjoyable, which is smart. But the other side of it is fake noise. So
All right, I know that you especially hate number 4.
Yeah, I really do. It's start-stop technology. Now, here's the bottom line. I understand what it's for, and it really does work. You can get better mileage by using it. And on an economy car, great. But when you're in traffic, and when you're going stop and go, and you have that little extra lag, and there is a little lag, no matter what anybody says, between the time the car shuts itself off and turns itself back on top of you accelerating forward, it's extra lag, right? So I hate that. And when you and most of them do have this, where you can say, no, I don't want to use that. When you shut the car off and then turn it back on, it comes back.
And let's face it, all start-stop systems are not equal because some of them, all they do is shut everything off. So your air conditioning goes off, your heater goes off, and in a hot day, you're steering it, you can't steer the car because you're losing power. And on a hot day, all of a sudden you're like, holy cow, especially if you have like 2 or 3 people. Oh my gosh, it's no good. And some, of course, keep that on, and that takes more technology. It's more expensive. So most of them default to like everything goes off, and you're like, whoa, this is no good.
Yeah, because you're trying to save gas, and we get it.
Yeah, we get it, and they do it. It adds like 1 mpg. It really does. It does do a lot. Okay, number 3. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting argument we all had, and that's in-car navigation. And the reason why there's an issue about it is because you can pretty much get everything on your phone, and your phone, at least in my case, tends to be even more accurate.
It's free. Google Maps, Apple.
It's all free, and then if you have Apple CarPlay, just use it, or the other one. But the point is that the car uses usually satellites. In the old days, they used DVDs.
Now they use satellite, whereas your phone uses cell towers, so
Right.
the car's navigation system will work when there's no cell service. But that's a $2,500 option for most automakers that most of the time we will never use. You guys used it when you did Motor Mountain because you were in some pretty remote places.
Exactly, and so we were able to, and this was an FCA product, we were able to feed in the coordinates and actually use navigation coordinates, and it took us exactly where we wanted to go. But that same system also took us way off the highway, and it got itself lost. I'm literally driving, this was in Missouri, and I'm supposed to be on a dirt road that's supposed to be marked, and it told me I was driving through water. So there you go. There's two sides to it. Once again, satellite will help you guide your car.
Yeah, but why pay for it when you get it for free?
And it is really
it.
expensive. That is really the issue. And you're right, $2,500, $4,000 in some cases.
All right, here's number 2.
Oh yeah.
This is number 2, or this.
I really dislike this system. Now, I know some of you guys probably really dig the idea of having gesture controls, right? So when you want to turn up your volume as you're driving, who needs a knob or a dial or whatever when you can do this? But here's once again the problem with that. You're driving along, and let's say you're in Detroit, potholes and everything else, and you're trying to do this, and all of a sudden you're on an AM station. It's not perfected. It's just not.
Plus, you look like you're in some old episode of Voyager.
It really does look like you're on some old sci-fi thing, engage or whatever. But once again, it hasn't matured yet, and so because of that.
But you know what? If they actually had like logical controls, like for instance, if you wanted like Metallica, you do that.
Yeah, there you go. You go like this, Metallica.
Or you want like some like chill music.
Yeah. Don Ho or whatever. There you go.
Like these little shortcuts that you could do.
Disco or whatever. You could do that. The thing is that the whole system, the way it's set up is brilliant. It's just not quite there
yet. Or that would be turn on my sprinkler at home.
Should we bring on Andre to do some dance moves, and interpretive dance, in order to make things happen?
Yeah.
So it's something that
it's not ready for prime time.
No, it's really not. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Oh, this is a huge
which
one.
Has been around forever, and it still doesn't work right. Voice recognition.
Yeah. I was just in a car, and I was like, I'll try it every 2 years or so. I'll give it a try just to see if they've gotten to the point where like it's like Siri or the Google version of that, right? And so I was trying to put in. You could only actually. I was forced to use it because you had to use voice command while we were going down the highway to put in a destination in the GPS, right?
Right. Because it won't let you do it without it.
15 minutes later, the car turned up the heat. The car turned off the radio.
I called 911.
Yeah, but we were no closer to getting to the destination.
Yeah, well, one of the problems is some of the vehicles now will do a default, and if you're moving, you won't be able to put in your navigation coordinates where you want to go.
Another reason why nav sucks.
Yes. So you hit the voice thing because usually that's the whole point. You're able to tell it what you want to do.
Why can't they figure out that if I'm in the passenger seat, they don't have to disable navigation while I'm on the highway? I can put it in there while the driver is busy driving.
Right, and there's already sensors in the seats to tell the airbags.
It must be a lawyer thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of liability issue. But the point is that it's not. It just kind of sucks. And here's the funny thing. Quick story. We were driving with an engineer. Well, he's actually a representative of the whole car company, and he was trying to show us how the system worked as we were driving, and it wouldn't work, and he couldn't say, this thing's a piece of junk. He couldn't say that because it's his baby, right? So we're doing it again and again and again, and he ended up calling half the people from his Rolodex before he finally gave up on it, pulled over and said, I just got to make a quick call.
And of course their default is you have to know the voice command, right? Oh, come on, I have to know the exact language, get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, AI should be able to figure this stuff out nowadays. But anyway,
right.
So that's another bit.
Number one is really my biggest pet peeve because we drive a lot of cars. Maybe you guys don't have this issue because you're not in, but go ahead, what is it?
It's reimagineering the shifter. Okay, now look, a majority of vehicles are either automatics or CVTs nowadays, very few manuals. Because of that, for some reason, and I think it's initially a German reason and it just kept growing from there, they feel that having something where you go from park to drive to maybe a couple of gears and then reverse or whatever is useless. No, we don't want you to have this lever that does this. We'd rather you have a dial or buttons. They try
or some
buttons.
lever that's smaller and weirder.
Yeah, a tiny little flappy thing.
Or some lever up here that's weirder and smaller.
God, I don't get it.
And they've tried it before. Right? Push buttons, which now Lincoln uses and Acura uses. Those were around. They went nowhere.
Oh, in the 60s, there was the Plymouth Valiant that actually had push buttons, and then there was a Russian car. Andre, help me out with this.
Chaika.
Chaika. where apparently if you push the button too hard, it goes all the way
What car
in.
had the control on the steering wheel? There was one.
Well, there was one, the Cord, the 1936 Graham Cord, front-wheel drive supercharged car, which is awesome, by the way, but it actually had this little pneumatic shifter, which had a million things go wrong with it, but when it worked right, it was awesome. That's kind of the same thing with these things. Okay, so Honda Pilot has push buttons, and we're driving along, and if someone spills their coffee, and I heard this happening, you actually have a problem with the actuation. It won't move. That's not good. If you had a lever, it wouldn't really be an issue. I'm just saying.
And they do it obviously for space reasons, because all of a sudden there's no direct mechanical connection between the lever and the transmission.
No, it's all wires.
It's all electronic.
Yeah.
But yeah, with autonomous cars, I think that's all going to go away anyway. You'll just think it at some point.
Take me out of driving, take me home.
But that's why I love manuals, because manuals are still, the way
good old-fashioned.
Yeah, there's a mechanical connection, and you can have, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gears, but it's still cool. All right, we always do a bonus. What's that, Nathan?
Anything that vibrates. Now, there's a caveat with this. We should say the seats, really, for the most part, and steering wheel. Even to a lesser extent, haptic buttons. Now, for those of you who don't know, they actually have these fake buttons where when you press it, there's actually something that kind of gives you a little tap. So it feels like you're actually hitting something. And it kind of works. So with haptic seats, when you're backing up on certain vehicles, a lot of GM vehicles,
does that,
if something's behind you, the back of your seat will vibrate. And I happen to know that a grandfather-in-law of mine was like almost deliberately rear-ending people just so he could stop and then back up a little bit and get that little buzz. It's just,
it's just not intuitive, and I don't want to know your grandparents. He's a weird dude.
He was a weird dude. But the thing is that these systems, which are made to help you, eventually become irritating, and then you ignore them and you try to shut them off. I guarantee you, a high majority of people who have those systems hate them.
Yeah, and the other thing, guys, engineers out there, if you're watching this, anytime you make a system that defaults to whatever you decide as opposed to what we decide, it's just super
bothersome.
It's bothersome, it's annoying, and it's uncomfortable.
It is. I mean, the whole thing is making your car so configurable that you can really make it your own, but all of a sudden having Big Brother go, no! You are not allowed to do that.
You know, it's like those seat belts that used to come out and force you to use them.
You remember those guys, the ones that go up and down? Yeah, I had that.
It's we are buying what we want, not what you want. So let us configure it the way and don't default. And the reason they often default, like the start-stop, is because of fuel economy standards, right? So in order to get the car at that government MPG, they have to have a default.
Right.
And that's why it does it. But on a lot of things, it just does it, and you have to go in there and find that third screen wherever the control setting is.
Where you can defeat it permanently.
All right, guys, that is our list. But Andre has some more questions.
Yes.
A couple more questions really fast.
Yes.
And this is a kind of a future-looking. MCarb 80682 is asking, a lot of big cities are outlawing diesel and gas vehicles. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the bottom line is that a lot of cities see the future as being electric, and a lot of them see a cleaner city. If you look at Paris, there's a lot of pollution there. And same with Los Angeles, and even to a lesser extent, Denver. Not Boulder, and they don't pollute up here. They just smoke a lot. But the point is that
they vape a lot.
They do vape. The point is that they're trying to cut down on particulates. They're trying to cut down on soot. It's actually, in some ways, something that people who have a little bit of vanity about their town or village, they have an issue with that. So we get the point, and that's why, even though there are low sulfur diesels out there that really aren't producing that much, they'd just rather get rid of them all and say, okay, if you have an electric car, you can come in here, pay a little fine or whatever, and then if you have any of those other cars, you're not allowed in here.
I hate it. I hate when governments curtail choice, and it reminds me a lot of when GM came around and basically got rid of all of the street cars so that they could sell more cars and sell more buses, right? So
Yeah.
I don't like when the big hand of government says, no, you won't do this because this is what we believe. I think people should naturally, or the free market should dictate that, and not some big hand of government saying you cannot come in here if you have, because inevitably, right, that tends to favor very wealthy people.
Yeah, it does.
Right, because let's face it, there are no super cheap electric cars that are actually usable to go across the country.
Right.
So that means that electric cars today are either your second or third car for most people, or if you're wealthy enough to own a Tesla, then you can, but that's the only one. So it always has kind of an unfair disruption to the kind of the working people who are trying to get into the city and who now all of a sudden can't do it because they have to have an electric car.
I agree 100%.
Yes, Tommy?
Do we have any news on the Bronco or the Jeep truck?
Really
always.
good.
That is a perennial question.
And Ranger.
And we
And
do
Ranger.
actually we do. We have great Ranger news. And for those of you guys who only check out our YouTube channels, you should definitely head on over to TFL Truck right now, because one of our Andre, who was our viewer who sent us the spy photos of the Ranger?
There were two gals, and they were actually in Colorado, and they saw
Yeah, they were up in
Ranger Raptor.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So we have, we think, are legitimate pictures of the new Ranger Raptor. Not just the Ranger, but the Ranger Raptor.
If it's going to be called that.
Yeah, if it's going to be called that. And they're great. They're not these usual where you see the back of the thing. You get a great shot of it. We also have a spy video on TFL Truck of the Ranger. Me and Tommy caught it coming back from Colorado Springs. So there's a spy video of that. Did Ford talk about it? Hell no. You know, they're never going to talk about new products. They always want to feature what they're featuring, which in this case was the new F-150.
Right.
And the Bronco, we get a lot of spy photos of what people are calling the Bronco.
But we don't know for sure if that's...
We have not seen, I'm not sure there's been a Bronco sighting yet, an official Bronco sighting where you can definitively say that's probably the new Bronco. Is there news on it? You know, it's still 2 years away, dude.
Yeah, they're not going to saturate the news when they have the the Ranger about to come out. That's what they want you to concentrate on when it comes out. Then, after they've been selling it for a while, then they'll have the stuff for the Bronco, and then they'll start circulating it. Ford plays their cards really close to their chest.
Oh, hell
They
yeah.
do not like to let out anything. Trust me on this.
And you know, we get the Jeep all the time. They haven't even unveiled, brought out the new Wrangler. So guys, we had this conversation last time. There's no news, unfortunately, and there won't be any news about the new Jeep until they actually roll out the new Wrangler.
That's correct.
And they will not want to take off the spotlight, because there's this thing that happens where people put off their buying decision. And Andre, I'm thinking of you. He's been buying a new truck now for at least 4 years.
Yeah. No, I'm going to wait until next year because I've heard this.
Yeah, and so what happens is people say, I want to wait for the Jeep pickup, and then the guys at Jeep know that they won't buy the Wrangler because of it. So they're not gonna give us any information, and they're gonna be very tight-mouthed about the stuff that they do put out.
But this is what we hear, that at the LA Auto Show this year, which will be near the end of November, hopefully they'll have the debut of that truck. Or of the Wrangler.
Of the Wrangler,
Yeah,
yeah.
the truck itself, I have a feeling it'll be another year.
Oh, you know,
after
for
that.
sure, because Ram, which is also part of the FCA group, is also coming out with the new Ram 1500.
Right.
And they do not want to cannibalize the sales of that by having people potentially wait for a Jeep truck that is very far into the future.
You're right. You have to look at the whole picture. They don't want to take sales away from anything else. And once something's in a cycle and starts to die off, then there's a good time to introduce the new vehicle.
And having said that, guys, we are in your corner. The second we hear anything, the second we have any pictures, the second anybody captures anything, we don't go and sit on it and talk about it. And no, we put it either up on our YouTube channel or we put it up on TFL Truck or TFL Car. So go to TFL Truck if you want to see the new Ranger Raptor, because we are, I'd say 99% certain that that's what we got out there.
Yep.
And it's actually pretty cool looking.
That's a pretty cool looking thing, especially, yeah. So definitely have a look at that. Is there anything else before we wrap it? No, we're good?
Well, guys, these are the top 5 things that we love and hate in new car trends, tech trends.
Yes. If you have anything to add, please write it below. This video will actually become a regular video in just a little bit, and you can add comments and we'll definitely look at them.
And then we've got a nice surprise for our TFL Today show next week. And of course, you're going to be at Pebble Beach, so Nathan will not be here. But we're going to do it from an interesting museum, which is just on the street from us, the Shelby Museum. It's probably the best Shelby museum. It is the best Shelby Museum in the entire country. They have an incredible collection of genuine, not replica, not, you know, the knockoff Shelbys, the real thing. And we're going to do the show from there and kind of walk you through their collection. And that's going to be kind of the set for this TFL Today show when we do it from Boulder for the next, hopefully, few weeks or a few months. So as always, guys, this is Roman.
And Nathan.
Saying thanks for watching. Remember, check out TFL Car and TFLTruck.com for more news, views.
And real world reviews. Ciao.
Ciao. Hey, Nathan.
Yeah!
Is that metallic?